Can I talk to you for a moment?
Sure, what is it?
Why were you so cold to David? He seemed really shocked and went off on his own.
Do you love Dad? What? Of course I do. Why are you asking? I can tell you why I'm cold to him, but it's going to hurt you. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready. Tell me.
All right, here it goes. I think he is having an affair.
What? William suddenly claimed that his father, David, was having an affair. But David and I didn't have a bad relationship and he was diligent at work. I couldn't believe William's words. However, William has an IQ of 140. He wouldn't say such a thing without some basis. I decided to hear William out and verify the facts together. After 15 years of marriage, it seemed I've been cheated on for 10 years. Moreover, David was planning a trip with his affair partner.
Could it be since that time? It seems I've been cheated on for 10 years.
This meant I had to reconsider my relationship with David. When I looked at William's face, his expression had changed slightly.
Mom, I knew you'd be hurt. This is unforgivable. Can I make Dad regret this?
It seemed William had a plan. I decided to go along with William's scheme. I'm Emily. I'm 42 years old, just an ordinary office worker. I married David, who is 3 years older than me, 15 years ago. He works in sales. He's got decent performance but isn't particularly outstanding. We met through a mutual acquaintance, and it wasn't a dramatic meeting nor did we have a whirlwind romance leading to marriage. The only slightly unusual thing is that we had a shotgun wedding. But even that isn't particularly rare. We are a typical, template-like couple. However, we have one thing that we are incredibly proud of.
Wow, that's an amazing score. You got a perfect score in social studies.
School tests aren't as difficult as the ones at the cram school. Still, it's impressive. When I was in middle school, the best I could do was 70.
It's pointless to compare us, though.
William getting good grades on tests was a usual occurrence. But David and I always celebrated every time William brought home a good score. William is 15 years old. It's supposed to be a challenging time in his studies, but we had no worries. William is so brilliant that it sometimes made us wonder if he was really our child. I believe he's already smarter than us. We realized his intelligence when he was 4. At that time, he often clashed with other children around him. The kindergarten teacher told us that William would talk to his friends, and soon after, the friends would get upset. I asked him why he said things that made his friends angry.
You upset your friend again today?
Why do you always say things that make your friends angry?
Because if you take the paper all at once and tear it, you can use the glue right away, can't you? I was just giving some advice, but they told me to shut up.
I didn't quite understand what William was saying, but it seemed he was giving advice to his friend. However, the friend wanted to do things their own way, which led to a quarrel. Even after that, William often clashed with his friends, and I often couldn't understand the situations even after hearing the stories, so David and I wondered if William might have a developmental disorder and consulted a doctor. At the hospital, it was decided that William would take an IQ test to objectively check his development. When we heard the results, David and I were surprised.
His IQ is 140. Is 140 impressive?
Since 100 is the average, it's quite high.
But William doesn't seem very good at conversation, and sometimes I don't understand what he's saying.
That's because William is only 4 years old, and he has a limited vocabulary and ways of expressing himself. He understands things well but doesn't know how to convey them, so he uses important words. When I talked to William earlier, he used conjunctions like but and because. This shows that he can think things through and has his conclusions. But William often makes his friends angry. That's a common trait in smart kids. William's mind works quickly, so he understands outcomes and conclusions faster than the other kids. He's probably giving them advice. But since his thoughts are ahead of his friends, they don't understand, and that leads to conflict. Adults experience this too, right? Even if it's correct, if someone talks to us about complex topics for too long, we get frustrated because we don't understand. I see. So William is a genius, and we haven't been able to understand him properly. Well, you could see it that way. But remember, an IQ of 140 is just a snapshot of now. It can change with age and development, so don't focus too much on the number. Some people push their kids too hard because they think their child is a genius.
I understand. We'll be careful.
The doctor warned us not to place too much burden on William by expecting too much. Seeing our excitement about the IQ of 140, the doctor probably got worried. But what parent wouldn't be happy to hear their child is smart? Learning that William's IQ was 140, we could finally make sense of his somewhat unusual behavior. When we bought him a book, he would quickly ask for another one. I thought he might be fickle, but he remembered the contents so fast that he wanted the next book. Also, he would stare at the TV remote for a long time and then press various buttons. I thought it was mischief, but he was curious about how it worked. I was thrilled with William's high IQ, but I was even more delighted to understand his way of thinking. William was interested in many things and absorbed knowledge with high concentration. The doctor said IQ could change, but William remained smart. Thinking about William's bright future made me happy. However, around this time, a dark future was approaching unbeknownst to me. After William took the IQ test, David began to put even more effort into his work. He stayed late at work and went out on weekends saying he was studying. It's good that he worked hard, but I started worrying if David was overdoing it. Working hard is fine, but are you okay? You know, many people get sick from overworking.
Don't worry, I'll be fine. When William starts elementary school, we'll need more money. He might want to go to after-school programs, or we might send him to a private school. And since William is smart, I need to show him that even though I'm not as brainy, I can at least work hard.
His joking words reassured me that he wasn't overextending himself. When William entered elementary school, his vocabulary and expressions expanded, and there was no longer any difficulty in understanding the content of his conversations.
Why do I need to get the teacher's permission just to go to the bathroom during class? Is going to the bathroom that big of a deal? If you leave without telling anyone, the teacher won't know where you went. Oh, I see. But then, wouldn't it be better to just put a sign on our desks saying we're in the bathroom? That way, we wouldn't have to interrupt the class to ask for permission, and the teacher would know where we are. People might put up the sign and then just slack off instead of going to the bathroom. If they slack off and get in trouble later, that's their problem. Why not just let them be? It doesn't work that way. If something happens, the teacher would be held responsible. Making people follow rules and taking on responsibilities, being an adult is such a hassle.
William became quite adept at conversing compared to his kindergarten days, but his logical and sometimes overly calm demeanor could be seen as a slight flaw. His quick thinking made it difficult for him to fit in with other children, a situation that hadn't changed since kindergarten. However, William was aware of his sharp intellect and seemed to make efforts to fit in. One of his strategies was to develop an interest in psychology by the time he reached 5th grade. He probably thought that understanding others' psychological states would help him blend in better. His way of thinking was no longer typical for a child, more like a professional dealing with workplace relationships. David, meanwhile, continued to work hard at his job. But his efforts to maintain a sense of authority over William didn't seem to be going well.
Your job is in sales, right, Dad? Do you enjoy it? Well, work isn't always fun, but being in sales means I'm the face of the company. It's rewarding. But since you're often out of the office, aren't there people who slack off?
Well, there might be some people like that. But I don't do that.
I didn't say you were slacking off, Dad.
Oh, right. Yeah. William tried hard to fit in with others. He was overly logical but never looked down on people. For some reason, though, he seemed to be particularly cold towards David. Do you think William dislikes me?
I don't think so. He knows how hard you work.
But he doesn't respond to me the way he responds to you, does he?
Well, maybe not. It could be one of those things where fathers can't compete with mothers in parenting.
If you put it that way, there's nothing I can do about it. David found himself facing a typical father's dilemma. Given William's rational mindset, any attempt to change his approach or buy things to win his favor would likely backfire. David figured the only way to impress William was to work even harder and make him proud of his dad. Despite his concerns, William continued to grow. After graduating from elementary school, he went on to the local middle school. He was now in the 8th grade, a time when studies were starting to get tougher. But knowing William, there was no need to rush or worry. Still, with William now in 8th grade, puberty was setting in, which was a cause for concern.
If you only study, you'll get stressed out. It's Sunday today. Want to go somewhere fun?
I study because I like it, so I don't get stressed out.
If anything, being dragged to places I don't want to go is more stressful.
Is that so? Well, I'm sorry about that. Just keep doing your best with your studies.
Oh, by the way, where were you planning to take me? Huh? Oh, how about an art museum? Seeing the real art pieces instead of just pictures in textbooks would be a great experience, don't you think?
Dad, have you ever been to an art museum?
No. But I thought it would be good for you. So, what do you think? Are you interested now?
Did you even hear me say, by the way? William ended the conversation with David and left the living room. Left alone, David looked heartbroken and eventually walked out of the house by himself. Listening to their exchange, I felt sorry for David, who seemed abandoned. Over the past 3 years, William had become even colder toward David. It's a bit unfair to David. I decided to talk to William to help David.
William, are you studying? Can I talk to you for a moment? I don't mind. What's up?
When I went to William's room, he stopped studying and talked to me. If it had been David, he would have probably told him to leave because he was studying. Why is he so cold to David? Even if I try to ask indirectly, William will immediately sense what I really want to know. So, I decided to ask directly without any subtlety.
Why are you so cold to David? He was so upset he left by himself.
At my question, William looked as if he was solving a difficult problem. While waiting for William's response, the room became silent, and I felt a strange tension. After a while, he started to speak with a difficult expression.
Mom, do you love Dad? Huh? Of course.
I was confused by his unexpected question. I answered honestly, but hearing that, William's expression became even more complicated.
It seems like you're telling the truth. Of course I am. I can tell you why I'm cold to Dad, but it will probably hurt you. Are you prepared for that?
What are you talking about? I was bewildered by William's words. It felt like talking to him when he was in kindergarten. Back then, he couldn't express his thoughts well, but he understood a lot of things. Now, it seemed like he had thought about many things and understood something before asking me. So, if I hear the reason, I will probably get hurt, as William said. But still, to improve the relationship between William and David, I had to know the reason. I braced myself. I'm prepared. Tell me.
That sounds genuine too. Okay, I'll tell you. I think Dad is having an affair. What?
William's unexpected words left me stunned. David having an affair? Our marriage isn't in trouble, and he is diligent at work. I couldn't believe his words at all. That can't be true. Why would you say something like that all of a sudden?
It's just a guess for now. But Dad is always lying. Especially about work. So, I think he's having an affair with someone from his office.
Always? When has David lied?
He lied just now. He said he's never been to an art museum, but I think he has. Remember when I was in 5th grade and I was reading psychology books? That's when I learned how to detect lies.
Detecting lies by observing eye movements and voice tones? Can you really tell if someone is lying like that?
I'm using a bit more advanced methods. It's all about steering conversations and catching those split-second reactions when someone tells a lie. Like earlier when I asked Mom a question, she was visibly confused and then determined, right? That's the kind of reaction you observe in conversations.
So, you've been seeing through David's lies since 5th grade?
Yeah. The first time I suspected Dad was lying was in 5th grade when I asked if he was slacking off. He wasn't exactly lazy, but there was something shady going on. When I pieced together all the lies Dad has told over the past 3 years, it all points to an affair. Like I said earlier, it's still just a guess, but I really believe Dad is having an affair. There's no way I can get along with him if that's true.
No matter how smart William is, I don't think he can easily see through someone's lies. However, as long as William thinks David is having an affair, the problem won't be solved. I keep thinking about how I can make William get along with David.
If I can be sure that Dad isn't cheating, that'll be enough for me.
Oh, I see. It seems William can read my mind. This makes me feel like he really can see through lies. But, how can we prove he isn't having an affair?
I need your help to check just one thing. It's something I can't do by myself.
All right. What do I need to do?
I've read that if someone uses a credit card for dates with a lover, you can tell from the transaction history.
I see. But we don't get paper statements at home. David switched to online statements. Come to think of it, I always check our bank account statements, so I only know the total amount spent on the card. I never knew what David was using the card for.
That's a common tactic to avoid being caught. Let's check the online statements. By the way, is your card a family card?
Yes, it is. Is that a problem?
No, that's actually better. It's illegal to look at someone else's transaction history without permission, even in the same family. But with a family card, both your transactions and Dad's transactions are on the same statement, right? So, it's only natural to see Dad's card history too, right? So it's a gray area. Do you know the account ID and password?
Yes, I have them written down in a safe place. I felt a bit like a detective and got excited. I knew I was doing something that would make David feel suspicious, but if I explained later and apologized, he would understand. In fact, he might even thank me for improving his relationship with him. I checked the credit card statements on the laptop with William. And there were some unbelievable charges.
What is this? This store name is clearly a hotel, isn't it? He goes there about once every week or two. And before the hotel, there's always a charge for a restaurant. So, he eats before going to the hotel. I was so sure he wasn't cheating that I felt like I'd been hit over the head with a hammer. But William, who had already suspected him, remained calm.
Why would he have an affair?
They say people have affairs for no reason. Even if the family is doing well, some people still do it. Sometimes it's just because they meet someone they like and act on impulse. So, there's no point in trying to figure out why he started. Even if there is a reason, it doesn't justify cheating, and we don't need to understand what someone who cheats is thinking, do we?
That's true. But he never showed any signs of cheating.
Mom, you've been watching too many dramas and internet videos. Do you really think there are obvious signs of cheating, or that people catch them by accident? If someone is cheating, they would hide it thoroughly. In reality, most people are shocked and didn't suspect anything when it's found out.
While I was still reeling from the shock of David's affair, William calmly checked the online statements in detail.
We can only see about a year's worth of history. When did it start? Isn't the length of the affair important?
It was about 10 years ago when David said he was going to work hard. Could it be since then? It feels like I've been cheated on for 10 whole years.
How can you remember something from 10 years ago so clearly?
Because it was right after you took your IQ test, so it's very vivid in my memory. In my heart, I admitted that David was having an affair. The shock was overwhelming because I hadn't noticed anything at all beforehand, and suddenly being confronted with the fact of his infidelity hit me hard. I thought it might have been better if we had just fought more or if I had smelled a strange perfume on his clothes. Now, I had to reconsider my relationship with him. I glanced at William and noticed his usually calm expression had shifted slightly.
Mom, you're really hurt, aren't you? This is unforgivable. Should I make Dad regret this?
William seemed to have a plan. I decided to go along with his strategy. After discovering David's affair, I continued living as if I knew nothing.
I have a business trip next week. It's been a while since your last trip. When is it? I'll leave on Thursday, finish work on Friday, but coming back at night is a hassle, so I'll stay one more night and return leisurely on Saturday.
On Thursday morning, David left the house for his trip. Seeing David off, I realized it was about time for me to leave too.
Well, I'm going out too. I've made meals and put them in the fridge. Also, be careful with the locks and the stove. Don't worry so much. You, on the other hand, should take it easy since you've taken time off work.
I asked William to take care of the house, and with the sound of my rolling suitcase, I set off. I boarded a plane and headed to the resort hotel I had booked. It's been a while since I've been to a resort. It's a short trip, just 1 night and 2 days, but I plan to relax and refresh myself from the daily grind. I arrived at the hotel. It looked much grander in person than it did in the pictures. I felt a strong urge to explore. After placing my luggage in the room, I walked around the hotel, taking photos with my smartphone. The details were intricate and beautifully done. I planned to show the videos to William when I got back. I enjoyed delicious meals and felt satisfied. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel. However, I didn't leave immediately but sat on a chair in the lobby. After waiting for a while, I saw a familiar face appear with an unfamiliar woman, so I approached them. Oh, what a coincidence running into you here. Have you seen the famous lake? Are you sightseeing now?
What? Why are you here?
David's reaction was just as I had expected. I said it was a coincidence, but of course, it wasn't. I had specifically aimed to catch David at the scene of his affair.
I checked the online statements. You paid a travel agency with your credit card, didn't you?
So I called the travel agency. When checking the online statements, William had noticed a payment to a travel agency. Since I knew the company's name, I called and said I had lost the brochure and needed a new one. I was nervous that if David had gone to the agency with his affair partner, they might realize I wasn't the one going on the trip. But the staff deal with so many customers that they didn't remember individual faces. I got the brochure easily and found out David's travel destination. I also casually confirmed the details of the trip.
Were these food pictures from the hotel you're staying at?
No, you'll be staying at the place shown in these photos. Since the trip was during his supposed business trip days, it was easy to pinpoint. With the destination and dates known, I went to confront him at the scene of his affair.
Is this your affair partner? What are you talking about? I told you it's a business trip. This woman is just a colleague.
Even someone other than William could immediately tell it was a lie. As soon as I knew it was a lie, it became clear that David was trying hard to stay calm but was actually panicking. I see, this is how William had been seeing through David's lies. Oh, so she's from your company.
Thank you for always taking care of David.
Could I have one of your business cards? David and his mistress exchanged glances, having a silent conversation. After a moment, the mistress reluctantly took out a business card from her wallet and handed it to me.
See, it has the same company name where I work. This person is from the company. You understand now, right? It was just a misunderstanding. Go home.
Okay, she's from the company.
But if she's just a colleague, isn't it inappropriate to share a room? How do you even know that?
Holding back my laughter, I showed David the video I took with my smartphone yesterday. It clearly showed David and his mistress together. I also recorded them entering the same room.
Photos and videos of you traveling and staying in the same room are solid evidence of your affair. You! What are you doing? Filming us like that is a violation of privacy.
This isn't spying.
I was just filming my solo travel memories. You happen to be caught on camera. If you have a problem with my travel video, you should complain to others too. See that couple over there taking photos? They might have us in their shot. Go ahead, tell them not to include us.
He glared at me with frustration. That was all he could do now. This was William's plan. Credit card statements alone weren't enough proof of the affair, so William and I came up with a plan to gather evidence. But all my ideas were rejected by William.
How about placing a bug in his bag? That's illegal. And the battery would run out.
Then maybe hire a private detective?
Detectives are expensive, you know? They charge around $200 per hour. If the trip is 3 days, and the detective watches them for 18 hours a day, that's $3,600 a day, over $10,000 for 3 days. Plus travel and accommodation expenses. It's not realistic.
So then...
Mom, stop. You've been watching too many dramas and internet videos. Let's think of a more practical solution.
In the end, William called a travel agency and devised a plan to film David's affair during the trip. Although I felt embarrassed for not being able to do anything myself.
Only you can execute this plan, Mom. It would be strange if I called the travel agency or picked up the pamphlets, and I can't stay in a hotel alone. So this is a team effort. I plan, you execute.
As expected from William with his IQ of 140 in psychology studies. He not only planned the strategy but also took care of my mental well-being.
You two are staying another night, right? Enjoy yourselves. We'll discuss the affair and the divorce when you get back.
I felt refreshed from the trip and obtained solid evidence of his affair, ending the vacation on a good note. After that, David and I naturally got divorced. With the evidence, the process went smoothly. Of course, William stayed with me, and David had to pay alimony and child support. But just letting David and his mistress get married wouldn't be complete revenge. So, William had already prepared another step for after the trip.
My guess was right, the affair partner was someone from work, right? So, I'm going to inform the company about their affair and make things a bit harder for them. I see. You're going to contact the company and report that someone is having an affair at work to get them punished. Having an affair is a private matter, so the company can't punish them. Besides, if we spread unnecessary information about the affair, we might get sued for defamation. Forget all the drama and internet video knowledge. Haha. Sorry. But then, what should we do? Did you get the affair partner's business card? I got it. You haven't spoken to the affair partner or asked Dad about them, right? No. I did exactly as you said, William. Then, we only know what's written on this business card about the affair partner. That's correct. Since we're going to ask a lawyer to handle the divorce proceedings, we'll need to send a legal notice to the affair partner. Generally, this notice has to be sent to their home. But we only know the affair partner's name and workplace. In such cases, it seems we can send it to the company. I see, If the legal notice arrives at the company, the affair will become known at work, and they'll feel uncomfortable at their workplace.
Not exactly. Legal notices can't be opened by others, so no one will know it's about an affair. But rumors about affairs spread quickly in offices, don't they? I'm sure the rumors are already circulating at their workplace. Then, a mysterious notice arrives. Plus, Dad is getting a divorce. Everyone will add their own spin to the story and spread it. Just as William had predicted. Rumors about the affair spread at their workplace, and both of them ended up leaving the company. However, William misjudged one thing. It turned out the affair partner was also married. The affair partner tried to hide the affair from their spouse, but it was eventually discovered. The affair partner was being pushed for a divorce by their spouse and was also facing a compensation claim. David and the affair partner, whose lives had been wrecked by the fallout from the affair, didn't have the will to support each other through the turmoil, and they eventually parted ways in a bitter argument. This ended my revenge against David, who had been betraying me with a straight face for 10 years. With the matter with David resolved, I reflected on everything that had happened. I realized that although I watched William come up with his plan, he didn't know everything from the start. He researched what he didn't know and applied what he learned. I learned from William that being smart isn't about having a lot of knowledge. As for William, I was worried he might be shocked by his parents' divorce. However, that turned out to be unnecessary. I've been troubled by his behavior since I was in elementary school. Now that it's resolved, I can finally focus on my studies. Amazingly, William seemed to have even more potential to excel in his studies. Moreover, this incident sparked his interest in the law.
Law is like a word game, and it's fascinating. It also helps make people like Dad, who do bad things, reflect on their actions.
He expressed a desire to pursue a career in law in the future. This might mean significant education expenses. I resolved to work hard for his future.